This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey folks, we have a new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation. Today's episode is brought to you by Coinsbee.com, the go-to platform for spending your crypto. With the biggest selection of brands across all gift card platforms and live in over 185 countries, Coinsbee supports the most relevant local brands for your everyday needs. They support more than 200 cryptocurrencies and offer a vast product range from gift cards, game points to mobile phone top-ups. Can't find what you're looking for? No worries. Coinsbee also offers Visa and MasterCard prepaid cards. So just go to Coinsbee.com and turn your digital assets into real-world possibilities. And now it is on with the show. My guest today is Jay White. Jay is a co-founder and head of research at Space and Time, the decentralized data warehouse. We're going to learn all about this today. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Hi, good to be on.
Good to have you on, Jay. Look, let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It'd be great if you could please introduce yourself. I'd love to hear just a little bit of your story, what you've been doing in the lead up to getting involved with Space and Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm Jay White. I'm head of research, co-founder at Space and Time. Probably one of the things we'll talk about today is proof of SQL. That's one of the main things I've been working on at Space and Time. A little bit about my background. I have a PhD in mathematics. Before Space and Time, I was a professor of mathematics and statistics. So I did that for a couple of years. Before that, I've just always been doing math, sort of doing a bunch of math and software, combination of that ever since as long as I can remember. Middle school, high school, college, just I always loved math, always loved software. Got interested in crypto way back when Bitcoin first came out. Right? I was kind of interested in it then. And so it's been kind of cool with Space and Time just to sort of see the convergence of all of these things. Like I get to do math, I get to do software, and I get to play with crypto, and everybody's excited about it. So it's like normally when I'm playing with something I enjoy, people are just like, oh, that's super boring. Like, oh, you like math. Like, glad there's people like, but everybody's excited about this. So it's really cool to see that come together.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Jay, and you're right. And your bio says, look, as you've explained, you were a professor of mathematics. You've done a lot of research around computational mathematical problems. You're familiar with things such as algorithmic development and algebraic research. So, reasonably nerdy math stuff, which of course dovetails fantastically with anything involving cryptography or distributed ledgers, really. So, but I guess I'm curious, Jay, from that perspective, as someone who, if you're that much of a math nerd, and I mean that in a nice way, you obviously need to be you can't really learn that. You need to be you need to have a brain that is suited to that, I think. But from that perspective, someone who's coming from that background, when you first read something like the Bitcoin white paper, for example, I'm just interested in your kind of first reaction, I suppose.
When I first read something like that was a long time ago. And I think, to some degree, the mathematician, like, a lot of these white papers, crypto white papers, are not really necessarily super deep into like the theoretical math. So like it's more of the programmer, like engineer side that's reading those types of white papers than the math side of things. So some of the papers are very math heavy, but a lot of them are more of like engineering heavy. But it's definitely reading these, especially the Bitcoin one, it's just very much a brand new technology that came out. It's just like, oh wow, this is surprising that this exists. It's like it's really cool that it works like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, from Bitcoin to Space and Time. I suppose to begin with, Jay, do you want to just give us the kind of the high level overview or vision of yeah, what you guys are trying to do with space and time.
Hmm. Yeah, so space and time, what we're setting out to do is create really the first decentralized data warehouse. But we're doing a lot more than just creating a database, right? We're creating an entire data platform for Web3. This is something that doesn't exist in Web3. There's no database for Web3 developers today. So we're setting out to create this database that Web3 developers, smart contract developers, everybody can use easily. And we're throwing all the bells and whistles on top of it as well. We're like AI integration. We're indexing blockchains. Like we're doing a bunch of stuff on top of this. But at the core, Space and Time is creating a data warehouse, a decentralized data warehouse, and we're making it Web3 native.
And so, what would be the three or so core use cases that helps the wider Web3 space with space and time?
Mm-hmm. I think the short answer is everything, right? Every single application that exists needs a database. So everything is a use case. What we're seeing today from customers and like from people who are demanding what we have is we're seeing a lot of gaming applications. We're seeing a lot of DeFi applications. We're even seeing interest from like traditional like Web2 financial applications. Like we're seeing interest from a lot of different areas. But the main two biggest ones at the moment are gaming and DeFi.
Yeah, and that's just because I suppose those are the the first use cases really to start to take off in the wonderful world of Web3. But as more people come in, I mean there'll be a whole host of amazing activities that people can conduct on chain, and platforms such as Proof of Time, Space and Time will help enable all of this.
Yeah. The idea is that blockchains today, they don't really have data access. And you can't really create applications without data access. And space and time is enabling that data access for smart contracts. So,
and you talked about proof of SQL. That's how we say it.
Yep. Proof of SQL, proof of SQL, depends how you want to say it.
Yeah. So just explain the design of proof of SQL and why you've decided to take this development path, I guess.
Yeah, so early on, this is kind of a core part of what Space and Time is creating. Early on, when we're setting out to create this decentralized data warehouse, the idea is that we want these databases to be hosted by the community run and operated. So if you wanted to, you could spin up a data warehouse cluster in your basement, or you could spin it up on the cloud, right? But you could own that, you could host that. And then if a smart contract wants to send a query, wants to access data that you're hosting, the problem then becomes, how can the broader network trust you, right? How can the broader network trust an individual person hosting data that they send back the correct responses? This is super important if you think about like the DeFi situation where huge sums of money are being transferred by smart contracts based on data that could be living off chain. How can we guarantee that that data that gets loaded on chain is actually valid, is actually correct, and has been like computed against correctly? And that's what proof of SQL is solving. Proof of SQL is producing a proof that guarantees that the analytics run on a database are actually correct. So this is great for a decentralized data warehouse where you don't have those guarantees otherwise.
Got it. Got it. Where do you stand in the development process at the moment, Jay? And I think earlier in the month, you guys announced some ongoing alpha around this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just launched, I think, at the beginning of this month. It's still August. Just launched at the beginning of this month our alpha. Just got our first few customers onboarded. We're kind of ironing out the user experience, kind of ironing out some of the issues around it, but we're developing quickly. We've got something that's working. We got something that we're excited about, and we're just rolling out more features. We'll be bringing on more customers. We'll eventually go into a beta. We'll eventually make it open to the community. So it's moving. We're moving quick. We've only been developing it a year, and we're at where we're at today. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
And so, what kind of team do you have behind you? And do you have like an investor stack as well? I suppose.
And what?
Well, a group of investors that have helped
Oh,
out so far.
oh yes, we have a bunch of investors. Chainlink being one of our early ones. Microsoft obviously is a big investor. There's a huge list of these investors that have just been excited and been helping us move forward.
That's right, and that reminds me. Actually, I did have in my notes. Who was it? Samsung Next participated in the seed funding round.
Yeah, I mean, they're excited about Web3. They're pushing forward, pushing on the boundaries. So they were just excited to invest and join in on it.
Yeah, well, if I mean, that reminds me, Jay. So if we kind of zoom out for a little bit, and this is
Yeah.
maybe away from the maths and more the kind of, I guess, cultural impact of Web3,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
as you'll be very aware that Web3 did have a cultural moment, right? And that's primarily through
Hmm.
NFTs that
Hmm.
brought Web3 to the world's attention, for good or bad, because we've sort of subsequently seen, a little bit of a crash in the NFT market,
Yeah.
if you want to call it that. But this is just what happens. It's boom and bust technology cycles. Um, but it does make it a little bit harder for, I guess, the mainstream narrative to come around again to Web3, because people have seen there's unfortunately a lot of scams in Web3 as well.
Yeah. Yes.
It does, I guess it doesn't make it easy, but maybe just as the technology evolves, we'll get wider and wider product market fit. But yeah, just interested in how you think about that kind of stuff, Jay.
I mean, I think the big push of Web3 and just sort of crypto in general is this concept of trustlessness, of like removing the need to trust individuals, central parties. And I don't think that's going away. Like that need is not going away. If anything, it's just growing. So I don't see, yeah, there was a bunch of scams around the NFTs and all of these other things, and that's going to happen. But we'll get back, we'll recover, we'll have another bull market, and we're going to see this desire for trustlessness just keep increasing and keep growing. I don't. It's inevitable. It's happening.
Yep. All right. So, in the meantime, it sounds like even if we are arguably still in the bear market at the moment, there's obviously interest from, big corporate players such as Samsung. They're still interested in, I suppose, the Web3 space and what you
Mhm.
guys can do for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see a lot of more than just like decentralized Web3 big companies. We see a lot of interest. We're seeing a lot of interest from Web2 companies as well, especially around proof of SQL. Because what this enables big Web2 companies to do is they don't have to trust necessarily their engineers that they're not tampering with the data. Like they can use our technology. Our technology is pretty agnostic. It's not just Web3. We see Web3 as like one of the early adopters of this technology because it's so trust driven. But as Web2 starts to catch up to Web3 in those regards, we see a lot of people in Web2 starting to like have interest in what we're having. So we're having conversations, a lot of Web2, big Web2 companies as well.
So just give us some examples of what those kind of use cases might look like. You don't need to name names of who you're actually
Yeah.
talking to, but yeah.
So I mean, think about like financial applications where you've got a bunch of financial stuff in a database, right? It's stored in some database somewhere. Like you've got a bunch of transactions or something stored in some database. And then you want to then like if you're an executive in a company or somebody who wants to run queries, wants to figure out information against that data, you can run a query against it. You can ask some questions about it. But then how do you know that somebody else hasn't come along and messed with it? Like, how do you know that one of your engineers, if you're part of a big company, there's a bunch of people where you've got to like worry about their security credentials. But if you could just have like cryptographic guarantees, then yes, maybe you still have to worry about those credentials, but it's less of a big deal because you're giving guarantees that this is the actual result that I wanted. Nobody can tamper with it. Nobody can mess with my database. So it's kind of just it's a lockbox.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like the logical next step eventually then, are there plans to offer a proof of SQL as a commercial product outside of the space and time platform itself?
Yeah, so I mean, we've put space and time inside of the space and time, or we've put proof of SQL inside of the space and time ecosystem to allow like Web3 to use a database. But we also, I mean, we see proof of SQL as becoming like the standard, like the gold standard for any database. Maybe like 30, 10, maybe even 10 years from now, we envision proof of SQL sitting alongside every single database that exists in the world. And if you don't have that check mark by your database, then why not? Like, why not add it? So hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we're working in that direction. We're getting there.
Well, tell us what that roadmap looks like then. What are you doing to, I guess, talk to people and just make the case that proof of SQL is the right solution for this?
Yeah, I mean, in the Web3 world, we have customers not like knocking down our door. Like we have people who are begging to get in, which is exciting. So in that regards, it's easy, right? People want to use proof of SQL, and we are having some good conversations with databases around putting proof of SQL alongside it, putting proof of SQL next to these databases. Yeah, so we're making quite big steps in that direction.
Awesome. All right. Well, as we finish up this part of the podcast, Jay, for anyone listening that is unaware of space and time, but perhaps very intrigued and wants to look at your various offerings, what should they do? Where should they go?
Go to spaceandtime.io, sign up for our beta, join it. It's open beta. You can just sign up, use your MetaMask to sign in, and join our beta.
Awesome.
There's a bunch of docs there too. So
yeah, I'm looking at the website now, spaceandtime.io. We'll put a link in the show notes, of course, but yeah, there's a wealth of docs and information and resources and links, of course, on the Space and Time website if you really want to dig in and learn about, space and time architecture and the decentralized data warehouse. AI-powered SQL. All right, very good stuff. Jay, I reckon what we do is we go to a very quick break and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off with the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second.
This episode is sponsored by Coinsbee, your digital pocket for spending crypto. With an extensive selection of brands available in 185 countries and supporting over 200 cryptos, Coinsbee turns your digital assets into gift cards, game points, phone top-ups, and even Visa MasterCard prepaid cards. Plus, with fast checkouts using your favorite crypto, or even speedier with Binance Pay, Coinsbee makes it simple to spend your crypto. Visit Coinsbee.com today and get honey for your crypto money.
And look, we are back, and I'm with Jay White. Jay, of course, co-founder and head of research at Space and Time, Decentralized Data Warehouse, as we've learnt today. Jay, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Sure.
All right, Let's do it, Jay. I'm just going to run some questions at you. Don't worry, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just want kind of your honest answers, hot take style, if you like. Question 1 for you, Jay. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Definitely not a maximalist. I think we're going towards a multi-chain future. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I had a feeling you would say that. All right, Jay, what is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
ZK is the future.
Very nice. All right. Look, Bill Gates famously said, Jay, that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, look, whatever you like here, but I guess generally speaking, Web3, DeFi, what does it start to look like in 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, I think we'll start to see like mainstream adoption. We'll start to see applications that people can start using. Right now, that doesn't exist. But in 10 years, I think it will.
Yeah. Sci-fi author William Gibson said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it, Jay?
I think a lot of the AI, like a lot of developers are using AI all the time, but nobody else is.
Yeah, AI is a funny one. I mean, I think, certainly developers are using it. I think a lot of content producers are using it as well. Actually, I mean, what do you think the implications are of, let's just say, these large language models and as they evolve? What are the implications for people that are potentially pursuing career paths in fields such as, let's say, mathematics or coding?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to take away some of the tedium of coding. I don't think you can really eliminate it entirely, especially like from an architectural standpoint. Mathematics, man. Call me when anybody's come close to doing mathematics inside of AI. Like legit math. It's not happening.
Just expand on that.
It's not happening.
What do you mean by that?
Just like real mathematics research, like PhD caliber mathematics research is very, very different from doing like rote, like solve this equation for X or like add these two numbers together, right? It's completely different. It requires a tremendous amount of creativity. And I don't know if AIs are truly creative. They can aggregate stuff, but I don't think that we're at the point where they're truly creative, especially in a mathematical fashion.
Yeah, fascinating. All right, time to get weird for just a second, Jay. If we zoom out, what do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
That's a tough one. I don't think either is going to happen. I don't think we're going to get a utopia or a dystopia.
Yeah, it's always kind of like a push and pull, a little bit of both.
Humans are designed to just sort of get used to the equilibrium.
Yeah, we adapt and suffer either way. All right, that brings us really to the final question, Jay, which is, what is your favorite science fiction, a book, film, or TV show?
I don't read a lot or watch a lot. Science fiction. One that's good is Out of the Silent Planet. It's by C.S. Lewis. It's an interesting read.
Okay, I know who C.S. Lewis is, obviously, but yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Sounds like a good one though. Jay, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. Just to finish off, again, just remind people what space and time is, why Web3 and, well, Web2, why, online applications of every stripe really can benefit from a decentralized data warehouse, and why, you guys are building the solution to this.
Yeah, I mean, for Web3, there doesn't exist a database. There's really no database solution, and we're providing a comprehensive end-to-end data platform for Web3. For Web2, there doesn't really exist the trustless features of Web3, and we're bringing that to Web2. We're creating a completely innovative database solution with trustlessness on top of it. And that's, doesn't exist. No one's done it. So I think everybody's excited. Everybody's going to be building on this. This is the future, right? We're building the future here.
Awesome. Can't say it better than that. Building the future with space and time. And of course, link is in the show notes, but the website is spaceandtime.io. What about you, Jay? Do you hang out on Twitter? Can shout out your Twitter handle, anything like that?
Don't have a Twitter. I'm not much of a social media person.
Okay.
But maybe someday.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We have Space and Time as a Twitter.
Yes, it does. Which is simply at Space and Time DB. So there you go. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show, Jay. Been
Thanks
a pleasure. All the best, and bye for now. All right, there you go. That was Jay from Space and Time. Yeah, looks good, actually. Fascinating, very much needed in the Web3 space. So do check it out, spaceandtime.io. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This was another episode of the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See you.